Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video in which we are going to see how to model a chandelier. Namely, how to model this chandelier. Now, the thing about this model is that I don't actually have the name of this model or any of the dimensions, so we're going to have to go off and model this thing based on what we're seeing in this image alone. So what I've done is I only have set this thing as a background image on a plane, so I can start working based on what I'm seeing here. And this thing has had a blue layer overlaid on top of it, so it looks like a blueprint. Alright, so let's start off with the modeling phase. First thing that I want to do is separate this into logical elements. So what I mean by this is the cage that is going around the chandelier is going to be one element. The interior place over here, so I can see that I have a cylinder, then another cylinder over here. Those are going to be a different face, and I have this cap and the bar coming from the top as a different element. We have the light bulbs, and lastly we have these crystal pieces hanging from the overhang or this cylinder over here. So let's start off with the most prominent element of this model, and that is the cage. Creating something like this is actually really easy in 3ds Max. All you gotta do is just create a sphere, make it so it's about this big, like so, rotate it around 90 degrees, like so, pull it downwards a bit. I'm going to press Alt X so it's see-through, so I can see where exactly it is. And now what we're actually trying to do here is we're trying to set up a base from which we can extract some splines. And in order to do that, I'm going to try to get the number of these edges over here to be more or less the same with what we're seeing in this image. Now, I'm not really sure exactly how many of these there are. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to leave it as the 32 segments. But in your case, if you're modeling something similar and you know exactly how many of these there are, you can just simply increase or decrease the number of segments. I'm going to turn on or put an edit poly on top of this. Select all of these polygons in the bottom and delete them, because I can see here I have an opening, and that opening is going to be right where we have the bottom here. Now here is the tricky part. We have to select all of these. Well, I'm actually going to go and select all the way up to here, and now I'm going to select my vertices and scale them outwards, so until they're matching what I'm seeing on my reference image, like so. And I'm going to select my border, hold down Shift and drag it up until here. Or actually, I'm going to put it up till about there, because this from this point up to the top, it's going to have a consistent size. Alright, so now that we have this, we need to add in some more extra edges to help drive this curve. Easiest way would be with the help of the Swift loop. So click on Swift loop, come over here, and you can add in loop. But if you hold down Shift, in that case, you're going to add that loop with a set flow applied to it. But in this case, since this was a straight line, we didn't get this tightening, but you're going to notice that here, because once I press Shift and click, I'm going to get this thing to conform better. But since we can go in and manually fix this like so, there we go. Awesome. Now another thing that you might want to do is when you're modeling anything is make sure you have a consistent density of your mesh. So I'm going to click one more time here, here and here. And what this means, I want to make sure that the number or the size of the polygons is pretty much similar in size all across. And now the last thing here, just drag one more up until there. And there we go. With this, we have this shape. Now, what I want to do is select one of my edges, hit the ring. So ring, then loop. And now I want to create shape out of this selection. So I'm going to hit on the settings next to create shape. Make sure it's smooth. We can call it whatever. We can just call it bars. 01. Click OK. And another thing that I want to do is I want to select the bottom base over here, or the bottom border, and do the same thing again. So go in and create a shape out of this. Click OK. And now I no longer need this helper, so I'm going to right click and hide this thing. And what we are left with is these splines that I have here with the help that I created with the help of my shape. Now, in order to make this thing renderable, we go into the rendering, turn on enable and render enabling viewport, come in here. You can control how thick this thing is. In my case, the thickness is 1 centimeter, but since I have a rather large background for my image, that's why it's this small. In your case, it might be smaller. So go in, enable and render enabling viewport. We want to give this thing just a tiny bit bigger thickness, so it kind of covers up the base like that. And we can more or less leave it, but let's just try 1.3 then. Something like this. And yeah, this is gonna work just fine. There we go. So let's continue with the other elements of this model. The first thing I'm going to do is create this cap over here that is going to help us with the shape. So just so I have all of this thing out of the way so it's not interfering, what I'm going to do is create a layer and put it all into a separate layer. Let's call it bars. All right, awesome. Hide this thing. Open up the layers again, hide, and let's continue. I'm gonna hold on control and right click and choose the line. And now I wanna make sure that I don't have it enabled in render in viewport. And I try and trace out the shape of this piece over here. Like that. All right, right click. I'm going to select this thing and hit it with a fillet, like so. And now I want to have this thing be a shape, a 3D shape. And the easiest way would be with the lathe modifier. When you add it, it's going to be like this. So just make sure you click on the minimum alignment. That is going to align this thing to the minimum or the first line that we have here. So just make sure that both of these are on the same thing. So the lathe is going to give us this sort of a model, which is more or less what we need. Let's see if we weld the core, if this thing is going to be enough. Yeah, we still have some. There we go. Both of these, move them inwards like so. All right, now it's awesome. All right, next thing that we want to do is we want to use Turbo Smooth to help us with the smoothness here, but we're gonna have to add in some extra edges here. So in order to do that, first add a edit poly on top of the lathe, select this line, chamfer this thing with a small amount. Let's try 0.1. Let's add in 2 segments, like so. Same thing on this side here. Chamfer, a very small amount. This thing here, again, very small amount. So now when we put a turbo smooth on top of it, it's going to hold that form like we need it to. There we go. This is good. All right. Next off, let's just add in this rod coming from the top. Again, I'm going to use a line all the way down to about there. Now, I want to make sure that this line is going to be in the center of this. So I'm going to go and hit my align tool and align it on the X, Y, and Z, center with center. There we go. I can just move it upwards until I get it to the point where I need it to. Make sure it's visible, and let's try and get the thickness to be right. Let's just see here. We can go a bit more like this. I think 2.8 should work fine. All right, awesome. So if I unhide everything now, yes, we actually don't need this thing anymore, so I'm going to delete it. I have this thing going on as it is, but I can see a bit of a problem, namely I need this thing or all of these bars to go underneath. So let's try and select all of them, just scale them inwards. Make sure we have this thing in the middle, so when we're scaling it inwards, it's going to go like this. There we go. Works like a charm. Awesome. So let's continue with the rest of the elements. Next element that I would like to create is the inner pieces, like this cylinder here and the one that's holding all of these crystal strands. So let's, first of all, I'm going to select everything again. Make sure I have everything in the same, there we go. So put everything here and hide this thing. All right, so create a cylinder. There you go, cylinder in the middle. Rotate it around. Actually, what I'm going to do is, while I have that thing selected, I'm going to align it with this bar, center to center. That's fine. And I'll just move it downwards. So I'll know I have it exactly centered where I need it. So, all right, like that. The radius should be a bit bigger, I guess, till about there. So I can see it clearly here. Now the height is going to be controlled from here. So I need it to go up until this piece over there. All right, that is more or less what I need for this thing. Now I need this smaller cylinder going around. So for this, what I'm going to do is go all the way up to here. Alt X to make it see-through. Now the height, I'm going to release it until I get the actual height for this thing, and this is going to be based on this piece over here. So that is going to create it so it's the right size. And now with the radius, I'm going to increase it all up until here. I can see that this is where it ends. Now simply move it down on the Y. I'm going to actually snap it to here like that. There you go. And this is what we have. We have two cylinders. All right, now the thing here is that I want to make the calculations, because when I take a look at my image, I can see that I have these little holes, and all of those holes are basically where all of these strands are going to hang from. In this case, I don't know exactly how many of these things are in here, so my guess would be about 24 or 28, but let's simply go with 24. So let's go and hit up 24 sides like that, and put an edit poly on top of this thing. Top and bottom both are selected. Hit the inset. This is going to make it till about there. So we just need this thing to be a very thin, and bridge this thing together. So we have this thing as an outline cylinder, like so. All right, great. Now, I want to make sure that I have a hole, or a perfect hole, for any of these pieces, but it kind of depends on how close your render is going to be, because if it's going to be a far render, it's not really going to be seen. But if for some reason, or you're showcasing the model as a product, then you're going to have to give those holes an actual geometry. In this case, so I don't have to go in and model it on each of these polygons individually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just one piece like this, Control I to invert, and delete. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in one connect here, one across, one more here, and one more here. And actually, let's go and add in one more like this. The reason for doing this is I'm going to select my inner vertex here, and I'm going to chamfer this vertex. The chamfer is going to be the whole spot. So something like this. Hit OK. And what I want to do now is, with the vertex selected, I'm going to hit the cut tool and go from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. Rotate it around the other side. Well, actually, we missed out adding one more line, so one over there. So connect. Make sure it's on the same height with this. All right. We'll connect, flatten the Z, snap it in line with the first one, like so, and continue with the cutting from there to here. The reason why I'm cutting in all of these edges is that we want to have a perfect, there we go, we want to have a perfect circle in here, and you cannot really get a perfect circle if you only have 4 sides. So I'm going to right click and convert this to an editable poly. And now right click, or select both of these, right click and hit the regularize. Now this regularize button will not show up, and I repeat, will not show up if you don't have the loop regularizer script. I have done quite a few videos in the back in the past with the regularized script, so you might want to go ahead and check it out. So hit the regularize. It's going to give us a perfect circle, and hit the bridge. So we have this thing like this. Awesome. Since we will be using Turbo Smooth on this thing as well, select that thing, chamfer it with a small amount, like so. Hit OK. And awesome. All right, so next thing, what I want to do is get this thing to be back as a circular geometry. And the way that I'm going to do this is, now since this was a part of a cylinder and I deleted the rest of the elements, I can go in my tools, hit on array, and from here I can go into my rotate on my Y. Let's try 360, preview, Alright, so Max just crashed on me, so that's fun, always. Alright, so instead of going with the array, I'm actually gonna go and just select this thing, hold on Shift, and rotate it around for 15 degrees. I will need 22 copies, I think. Let's see, 22, and one more. So it's 23, like this. Alright, so we have this thing spanning all the way. So like this. Alt Q, it will isolate all of these guys. Now with the attach, Control A to select everything and attach. I'm going to select my the vertex, select all the vertices, hit on weld with a very small amount, like this. Let's see, it's fun. Okay. And now if I go ahead and actually just put a turbo smooth on this thing, it's gonna give me a bit of a problem because I don't have this edge, the one on the bottom here, and this one chamfered. So let's go ahead and quickly do this. Chamfer them around with a very small amount, like so. So now if I put a turbo smooth, we're gonna get something, but as you can see, the inner parts are kind of smushy. And what I should have done before doing this is do the same exact chamfer on these edges. So let's go ahead and go back and see if I can go all the way back before or not. All right. So I'll go off and add the chamfer on those edges, and I'll be back in a jiffy. And after a few short minutes of just going ahead and selecting all of the edges and adding in the needed chamfers, now I want to add a turbo smooth on top of this. I can see that I have a really nice geometry here, very sharp, no problems whatsoever. And I'm gonna ID isolate, and I can see that this thing looks exactly how I'm seeing it on this image here. All right, so I guess I will finish this first piece, the first part of this modeling video here, and in the next video we're gonna continue modeling the rest of the elements for this chandelier. And all I can say is I hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. And if you enjoyed the video, then please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.